So that takes us to Indiana, which I think everyone agrees right now has gone from, a team that made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round. They were building all these young pieces, of course, Caitlin Clark, to now an immediate contender with all the moves that they've made.
So Sue Bird is one of the greatest point guards of all time in the WNBA. And she's someone who obviously is a part owner in the Seattle Storm. So hyping up another team is a bit of a conflict of interest, if we're being honest.
I think Natasha Howard certainly stands out. I loved playing with Tosh.
But you cannot say enough about
Tosh. I really enjoyed playing with her. I think she really is she's just this glue player that doesn't get enough shine for what she does, because a lot of what she does doesn't show up in the box score, but she just is always in the right place at the right time. And a player like that, I think, complements what Indiana is building.
To you about the experience, the champions that have been added to this one.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody talked about when we were in the playoffs last year of, we really didn't have much experience at all playing in playoff games. I don't know what the exact number was, but we really lacked in that area. So just adding pieces of, players that have been in this league, they know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to get to the finals. They know what it takes to win championships. I think it's exactly what we needed in our locker room. So it's just exciting, but also they're not only really good basketball players, they're really great leaders and really great people. And I know the front office obviously really prioritized that and looking for the pieces that we wanted to add. So really thankful for that as well.
They obviously through trade added Sophie Cunningham, a player that, I would say a 3-and-D type player who has, been to the finals, so has that playoff experience. She's also just tough. She's mentally tough. She's physically tough. She brings an edge to them. And then last but not least, they added Dewana Bonner, which really I think is the one that for most people took it to another level. So now you're oh, they're a contender.
The Indiana Fever have gone from underdogs to WNBA title contenders. How did they make this leap so fast? With a mix of explosive young talent and seasoned champions, this team is setting the stage to dominate the league. But is it all hype? Or is there real substance behind their rise? Let's break it down. In previous seasons, the Indiana Fever were far from being a championship contender. They were a team in transition, one that had flashes of potential but lacked consistency. For years, they were building with young players like Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Aaliyah Boston. But despite the talent, they couldn't seem to make a significant impact in the playoffs. They were always on the brink of something special, yet fell short when it mattered most. Then, Caitlin Clark arrived. A generational talent, her game-changing abilities brought a wave of excitement to the Fever. Known for her insane shooting range and fearless play, Clark instantly became the face of the franchise. Her ability to take over games, hit shots from anywhere on the court, and elevate her teammates made it clear that Indiana was entering a new era. However, despite Clark's star power, the Fever still had a major hurdle to overcome: playoff experience. The team had struggled in the past, especially in high-pressure situations. With a roster full of young players, they lacked the seasoned veterans who knew what it took to win in the postseason. This inexperience was a key issue, and it showed in their past playoff appearances. They were a team with potential, but without the experience to turn that potential into postseason success. So, while Caitlin Clark brought hope, the question remained, could she carry the team to the next level, or would the lack of experience be their undoing? The Fever needed more than just a star. They needed a full team capable of handling the pressure of playoff basketball. And that's exactly what they've been building ever since. When Sue Bird speaks, the basketball world listens. She's not just another retired player making hot takes for the sake of attention. Bird is one of the most accomplished athletes in WNBA history. A 4-time NBA champion, 5-time Olympic gold medalist, and one of the smartest basketball minds to ever step onto the court, Sue Bird knows what it takes to win at the highest level. She's been there, done that, and seen it all. Her opinion isn't just based on speculation. It's grounded in years of experience and success at the top of the game. That's why when Bird made the bold prediction that the Indiana Fever are real title contenders, people took notice. She didn't mince words. No sugarcoating, no vague compliments. She didn't just say, they might be good, or they could contend. No, she straight up said it. the Fever are championship material. Her opinion carries weight because of what she's accomplished throughout her career. Sue Bird has played against some of the greatest athletes in the world, led dynasties, and knows exactly what it takes to win multiple titles. When someone with her pedigree speaks about a team's potential, it's not just idle chatter, it's a serious observation based on decades of experience. Sue's sharp, no-nonsense commentary on the Fever wasn't just a passing remark. It was a warning to the rest of the league. She wasn't guessing or wishing for Indiana to succeed. She was confidently telling the world that the Fever are a force to be reckoned with. For a legend like Sue Bird to put her reputation on the line and declare the Fever a true title contender speaks volumes. She doesn't throw around praise lightly. When she calls something real, you know it's earned. And the Fever's rise? It's absolutely earned. The Indiana Fever didn't just rely on Caitlin Clark's arrival to transform their future. They made some crucial additions that completely reshaped their roster. Every player brought in was a calculated move to elevate the team's chances of winning a championship. Let's break down these key signings and see how each one complements the existing talent. First up is Sophie Cunningham, a 3-and-D player who adds an extra layer of toughness to the Fever's lineup. She's a player who's been to the finals and knows what it takes to compete on the biggest stage. But more than that, Cunningham's versatility is unmatched. She's capable of guarding multiple positions and plays with an edge that Indiana desperately needed. Her toughness and defensive mentality will fit perfectly alongside Caitlin Clark's offensive explosiveness, creating a balanced attack that can beat teams in multiple ways. Then there's Natasha Howard, a veteran who's no stranger to championships. Howard brings a wealth of playoff experience, something the Fever sorely lacked in previous seasons. Her presence on the court isn't just about scoring. She's a versatile defender and a proven leader. Howard's ability to guard the best players in the league and contribute on both ends of the floor makes her a perfect complement to Clark. She adds a defensive edge to the team while giving them another weapon on offense, someone who can take pressure off Clark and dominate when needed. Finally, the addition of Diana Bonner truly set the Fever apart. Bonner is a walking mismatch, one of the best players in WNBA history, capable of scoring, defending, and rebounding at a high level. But it's not just her individual skills that make her a game changer for Indiana. Bonner is a veteran who knows how to win. She's been in the league for years and has the experience needed to guide younger players through the grind of a championship run. Her leadership on and off the court will be invaluable, providing the Fever with the maturity and composure they'll need in tight playoff situations. Together, these players don't just add depth, they bring championship-caliber talent. Their experience, toughness, and versatility are the perfect counterbalance to Indiana's young core, with Caitlin Clark leading the charge. Each one of them complements the existing roster, filling in the gaps and giving the Fever all the tools they need to become a real title contender. With these additions, the Fever aren't just hoping for a championship, they're building a team that can actually win one. While much of the buzz around the Indiana Fever revolves around Caitlin Clark and her immense talent, the team's true strength lies in something deeper: team chemistry. The Fever are building something far beyond just a collection of individual stars. They're assembling a well-rounded, cohesive squad where every player understands their role and complements the others, creating a real sense of unity that's often the difference between a playoff contender and a championship team. At the core of this is Stephanie White, the head coach who has been instrumental in fostering this team-first mentality. White isn't just a coach. She's a leader who understands what it takes to win in the WNBA. Her experience as a player and her strategic approach have allowed her to create a system where each player's strengths are maximized and their weaknesses are covered. White knows that talent alone won't win championships. It's the ability to come together as a team and play unselfishly, making the right decisions in high-pressure moments. Under her leadership, the Fever are learning to play for each other, not just for individual accolades. White's focus on building chemistry is especially crucial given the mix of veterans and younger players. While Caitlin Clark may be the standout, it's the role players like Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, and Aaliyah Boston who will make the difference in the team's success. Each player is encouraged to step up when needed, but the emphasis is always on working together, trusting one another, and playing as a unit. This mentality is instilled by White, who understands that when a team plays as a cohesive force, they become much more than the sum of their parts. Now, compare this mindset to other teams in the league. Many teams, while talented, often struggle with the balance between star power and team dynamics. Too often, superstars dominate the spotlight, and the rest of the team becomes secondary. That's not the case with the Fever. They're not relying on one player to carry the load. Instead, they're building a system where everyone contributes, where players support one another, and where each game is a reflection of their collective effort. This focus on chemistry also sets the Fever apart from other teams in the league, especially the ones that are solely star-driven. Teams like the Las Vegas Aces or New York Liberty are built around individual brilliance, but those teams sometimes struggle to maintain consistency when their stars aren't clicking. The Fever, on the other hand, are creating a culture where success doesn't depend on just one person. It depends on everyone. This makes them a far more dangerous and sustainable force in the long run. The Fever aren't just relying on Caitlin Clark's ability to score or make big plays. They're building a team that plays together, trusts each other, and works toward one common goal: winning a championship. And with Stephanie White leading the charge, this chemistry is bound to get even stronger as the season progresses. The Fever are ready to compete at the highest level, not just because of their talent, but because they're a true team. And that's what makes them so dangerous. The transformation of the Indiana Fever has been nothing short of remarkable. Just a few seasons ago, they were considered a struggling franchise, hovering on the fringes of playoff contention but rarely making a significant impact when it mattered most. The team was full of potential, with young players showing flashes of brilliance, but the consistent results were lacking. They were often overlooked, dismissed as just another rebuilding team with talent that might one day come together. Someday. Fast forward to now, and the narrative surrounding the Fever has shifted dramatically. They're no longer seen as a team merely hoping to develop or sneak into the playoffs. No, Indiana is now a legitimate championship contender. The shift is palpable, not just in the roster they've built, but in the way they carry themselves, in their confidence, and in the way they approach each game. This isn't just about potential anymore. This is a team that's prepared to win, and they're making sure everyone knows it. The catalyst for this transformation? Caitlin Clark. Her arrival instantly changed the dynamic of the team. Clark's ability to take over games, to score from anywhere on the court, and to make her teammates better has elevated the Fever from a young, promising squad to a powerhouse in the making. But it's not just her scoring that's the game changer. It's the mindset she brings. Clark thrives under pressure, and her confidence is contagious. The way she plays, her poise and leadership on the floor has given the entire team a new energy, a new belief that they can compete with the best. But perhaps the most crucial element of this transformation is the veteran leadership that has been brought in. Players like Diana Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Sophie Cunningham add a level of maturity and experience that this team desperately needed. These are players who've been to the finals, who've competed for championships, and who understand the intensity and pressure of playoff basketball. Their presence in the locker room and on the court has been invaluable in shaping a winning culture, one that doesn't just rely on talent, but on smarts, discipline, and leadership. Together, Clark and the veterans have blended into a team that is no longer just trying to find its footing. They've found it. They're setting the standard for what it means to be a successful team in the WNBA. And it's not just about the future anymore. It's about right now. With their current roster and the momentum they've built, the Fever are no longer an afterthought. They're a force to be reckoned with. Indiana's old narrative being overlooked, being a team that's just on the rise, is gone. The new narrative is one of dominance, belief, and expectation. The Fever are a team with purpose, a team that's not satisfied with just being good. They're here to win, and they're ready to prove it. And with Caitlin Clark at the helm, supported by a wealth of veteran experience, this team is not just aiming for a playoff spot, they're aiming for championships. The Indiana Fever's transformation is complete, and the rest of the league should take notice. Because this team is on the hunt, and they're not slowing down. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a phenomenon. Her arrival in Indiana marked a seismic shift, not only in terms of talent, but in the mentality of the entire team. She's a once-in-a-generation talent with a skill set that's turned heads across the league. From her deep range to her court vision, Clark's impact on the Fever has been immediate, and it's reshaping how the team plays and how they're perceived. But it's not just about her scoring. Sure, Clark can drop 30-plus points on any given night and make shots that seem impossible, but her real strength lies in her leadership and her ability to make her teammates better. When Clark steps onto the court, it's more than just her individual performance. It's the way she elevates everyone around her. Her presence opens up space for others, creating opportunities for players like Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull to thrive. Defenders are forced to focus on Clark, leaving her teammates with more room to operate, and in turn, Clark's passing ability makes her a facilitator as much as a scorer. Her leadership is evident in how she's taking on the responsibility of being the face of the franchise. There's no stage too big for Caitlin Clark. Whether it's in the regular season or under the bright lights of the playoffs, she's stepped up to the challenge, leading by example with her play and her mentality. She thrives under pressure, and that confidence has rubbed off on her teammates. The Fever now have a player who isn't just looking to make it to the playoffs, they're looking to win a title. And that belief, that contagious confidence, is what makes Clark so special. As a result, Indiana has gone from being a team with potential to a team that everyone is watching. Their games are must-see TV, and their rise has drawn attention from fans, analysts, and competitors alike. Caitlin Clark is turning the Fever into a league-wide storyline. Teams know they'll have to bring their best to beat Indiana because the Fever are no longer an easy win. They're a legitimate threat. This added attention brings a unique pressure on Indiana's competitors. It's not just about stopping Clark. It's about dealing with the entire team, which is now playing with a sense of urgency and belief that wasn't there before. The pressure on the league is mounting. The Fever are coming, and Clark's leadership is making sure that no one is taking them lightly. Indiana's rise is forcing other teams to adapt and innovate, and Caitlin Clark is the catalyst for that shift. Her influence extends beyond the court, too. Off the floor, Clark has become the face of the Fever's culture change. She's a player who demands the best from herself and from her teammates. When other teams look at Indiana, they're seeing a team that's hungry for success, a team with talent, but also a belief system that can't be overlooked. And that belief starts with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark isn't just changing the Fever, she's changing the entire narrative of the WNBA. And for every team watching from the outside, the message is clear. If you want to compete for a championship, you're going to have to go through Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever's transformation is not just about the players already on the roster. It's about the strategic moves they've made to position themselves as a top contender in the WNBA. Over the past seasons, Indiana has aggressively reshaped its team through smart free agency signings, and these moves are a direct response to their goal of competing for a championship. By adding key pieces through free agency, the Fever are building a roster that's ready to take on the league's best. One of the most impactful free agency moves has been Diana Bonner's addition to the Fever. A seasoned veteran with multiple championships to her name, Bonner brings invaluable leadership and experience to a team that was previously lacking in both. She's not just another solid player, she's a proven winner, someone who knows how to handle the pressure of the postseason. Bonner's ability to score, defend, and contribute in clutch moments makes her a perfect fit alongside Caitlin Clark. But it's her leadership off the court that will be crucial in bringing this team to the next level. Alongside Bonner, the Fever also managed to secure Natasha Howard, a player whose defensive prowess and championship pedigree further solidify the team's aspirations. Howard is known for her versatility and ability to guard multiple positions, adding a toughness to Indiana's lineup that will prove invaluable in high-stakes playoff situations. With Howard, the Fever now have a defender who can lock down the opposing team's top scorers while still contributing on offense. This adds depth and balance to a team that is already brimming with potential. But Indiana didn't stop there. They added Sophie Cunningham, a 3-and-D player with a tough mentality and the ability to play in any situation. Her experience in the playoffs will provide the team with the grit and resilience needed for a deep postseason run. Cunningham's toughness and all-around game make her a key piece in the Fever's quest for a title. The Fever's free agency moves aren't just about adding talent. They're about building a team. Each player that Indiana brought in was a deliberate decision to fill specific gaps on the roster. The Fever needed veterans who had been through the grind of a championship season, and that's exactly what they've acquired. With experienced players like Bonner, Howard, and Cunningham, the Fever now have the leadership, defense, and depth to compete at the highest level. These moves are setting the stage for a future where the Fever aren't just playoff hopefuls, they're legitimate title contenders. The combination of Caitlin Clark's star power and the veteran presence of players like Bonner and Howard creates a balanced roster that can contend on both ends of the floor. The team isn't just hoping for a good season, they're positioning themselves for long-term success, with a solid mix of young talent and seasoned veterans. The Fever's aggressive approach to free agency signals their intent to compete now. They're not waiting for years of development. They're building a team that's ready to challenge for a championship in the very near future. By adding players who not only have the skills but the mindset to win, Indiana is firmly entrenched as a top contender, and the rest of the league is taking notice. With these strategic free agency moves, the Fever are positioning themselves to be a force in the WNBA for years to come. Their future is bright, and they're not just looking to be competitive, they're aiming for a dynasty. The combination of Clark's young energy and the experienced leadership around her makes Indiana a team that's primed to dominate. The Fever are setting the stage to not just make noise, but to make history. Sue Bird's words weren't just a prediction, they were a prophecy. When she declared the Indiana Fever as real title contenders, she saw something that many missed, a team that's not just waiting for success, but actively creating it. With the strategic additions, the leadership, and the undeniable talent of Caitlin Clark, the Fever are on a path that could redefine the future of the WNBA. They aren't just aiming for a playoff spot, they're in it to win it, and every move they make signals their commitment to building a championship culture. As the Fever continue to evolve, it's clear that they're not just building a team for the present, they're laying the foundation for a legacy that could last for years. With a winning mindset, an unstoppable force in Clark, and a roster full of experience, Indiana is creating something special, something the league will remember for a long time. This is more than just about the games they'll play, it's about the legacy they're destined to leave behind. Are you ready for the future of the WNBA? The Fever are coming, and they're not slowing down. Let us know in the comments if you think they have what it takes to bring home the championship.